Why, how come? Money. Why, hello. And welcome back to Black Myth Wukong. Continue journey. What are we up to? Act 4, I believe? Getting to the juicy bits. Right. Alright. Journal. Let's see why. We've done the monks. Sign Bear, Frozen Corpse, Yaksha Archer, Red Yaksha. Total treasure. I think so. Thunder Rhino Master. Dark Faced Overlord, yes. Okay. I'm up to Wushan Lesagwai. Oh, it's quite a bit. I think the revenants are from Black not Black Mountain, Fire Mountain. So it goes up to Lush Leaf, I believe. Alright. Wushan Lesagwai. Gaping mouth, round belly, bone incomplete, bulky form, craving and chasing tasty treats. Greedy for flavors, it longs for delight. Wagging its tongue, it speaks in spite. One spring the webbed ridge hosted a grand banquet to mark the blossoming of the flowers. A young guy from Mount Wushan, having presented the gift, saw the ladies chatting and laughing at the feast, and decided to join the other guys in the cave for drinks and merriment. A few cups in, the guys began to jest with each other. A big guy remarked, "I'd rather live in this rich hollow of yours, with banquets for every season and festival. Back in our place, the lady is too strict to follow it to allow any fun." A proud insect guy responded, "Our ladies in the cave often host banquets to keep the mistress company. It may not compare to the halls of the celestial court, but our second lady has some business in the mortal world, so we're not short on silver. It's tough, though. If she didn't find ways to bring in money, we wouldn't have made it this far." Another pigwai added, "Beautiful and elegant are all your ladies. I wonder which celestial mountain is fortunate enough to be where they might start their new families." The insect guy laughed, "Our ladies can't leave this place. The businesses outside are managed carefully by carefully chosen people, since we only take bridegrooms who marry into the family. The talented ones don't want to come, and the ladies don't fancy those who do. Look over there. There's 4 scorpions. Their family is in decline, and their descendants are unworthy. Only one is somewhat acceptable, but not one of our ladies would marry him. Whoever gets unlucky will marry him on a fateful day, so they say." The guys laughed heartily, enjoying themselves, when suddenly there was a shout. "Oh no, the ladies are quarreling!" A panting big guy in charge ran over, shouting, the mistress in the cave has lost her mind. She got into a fight with our lady over a few words from a maid, and even smashed the very gift that was brought." The guys were all startled. The clever ones quickly wrapped some food in lettuce leaves and handed it to the pig guys as an apology. "Next time we'll make sure there's no misunderstanding. Sorry for spoiling the fun." Alright. The pig guys took the food and hurriedly followed the steward out, asking, what exactly happened? I know it's all too odd. Every time we come, there's a commotion. Heard their mistress is always quite muddle-headed. Yeah. These were the two that came bearing gifts, which was Wukong and Zubaji. Puppet spider. Bad nose, crooked mouth, sharp fangs, poisonous and thick. Check the ears, cut the forehead, and the face has 8 eyes and ugly appearance. Long ago, a woodcutter lived deep in the hills. One day he went down to the market fair and saw a puppet show. He loved it and yearned to see it again. One day, as he cut wood, he heard shouts of glee in the mountains. He followed the sounds and saw a mob of young guys reveling together. Despite his fear, curiosity urged him to climb a rock to watch them from afar. The guys were gathered in a circle, watching an acrobat show. Too far to see well, the woodcutter could only discern a red-clad guy, whirling twin blades in dazzling spins and flips. Entranced, the woodcutter crept closer. He saw the acrobatic guy had legs tied behind its back, strings dangling from its feet. In a flash, he knew it was a puppetry trick. He climbed a large tree for a clearer view. The guy had an ugly, comical face. To the woodcutter, this spectacle was even more amusing than the finest plays in the market fair. He watched, spellbound. A chill on his neck jolted him out of the reverie. Reaching up to check, he found his fingers coated in green spittle. Looking up in horror, he was greeted by a myriad of eyes staring down at him. There in the treetop dangled a violet spider. Its legs threaded with silk, tugging the distant puppet guy to and fro. The woodcutter yelped and fell from the tree. At that, the spider paused, and the gathering Yaoguais turned as one to glare at him. Stricken with terror, the woodcutter fled, and upon returning home he fell gravely ill. No remedy could ease his suffering. He wasted away and soon died. The green spittle. It was poisoned. Puppet tick. Can you discern the outer guise? Who cares when hidden from our eyes? When hung up high, what use retains? A puppet's dance its fleeting gains. Tales told of Ju's estate in the Woodbridge, the ancestral home of the wealthy textile family in the kingdom of Juji. Rumors claimed the estate housed vast amounts of gold and jewels, and those riches were never found. In the kingdom of Juji lived 2 thieves who called each other brothers. The elder, a broad and forthright soul, the younger, a handsome and clever spirit. Fleeing a warrant, they sought Ju's estate in the mountains as their next target, as well as a hideout. For days they scoured the hills, their rations spent and their hope lost. Weary and famished, they chanced upon a tea hut. The young thief called out, "Let's rest here, brother." "There, brother," the elder replied, "we've seen no one for days. How could there be a tea hut?" But driven by hunger, the young one hastened towards it. The elder chased after him, pleading. They tussled until they entered the hut. Crude and dirty, it had rough, long log tables and stone stools. But there were no patrons inside, only a hunchbacked old man with a cane brewing tea. The young thief asked, "How do you sell tea here with no one around, old man?" The old man pointed to a dim village behind the hut. "It's humble and lives in a hilltop village. This hut serves but to eke out my living." He then served 2 bowls of thick, strange-smelling brew. The young thief reached for one, but the elder stopped him and asked the old man, "Do you know of Ju's estate?" The old man grinned. "It lies within the village. Drink your tea and I shall guide you there." The young thief beamed, but the elder grew warier. He snatched the bowl from the young one. "I shall try it first." With that, he downed it in one gulp. No sooner had the tea hit his belly than he collapsed, writhing in agony. The young thief turned to the old man, only to witness his true form revealed as a hunchbacked, cane-wielding creature, its body entangled in silk. Lifting his eyes, he saw a colossal spider perched in the rafters, tugging the strands to prompt the bug to tap its cane with resonant ting-ting. At this signal, the stone stools shifted and unfurled their legs. They became little stone spiders. They spat silk at the elder thief to entangle him. At this sight, the younger thief turned and fled, as if he had not heard his brother's pleas for help. He ran. Dang. I thought the young one was supposed to be smart. Broad and forthright, the younger, handsome and clever. Not too clever, it seems. Lantern holder. When night falls deep, his light shines down. Summoned is the yin, suppressed is the yang. Like harvesters hastening before the dawn, he reaps with his blade, and souls are gone. The insect wise loathed patrolling after dusk, as the instinct to chase after light made the nighttime perilous for them. But luck favored them when a tribe of pale-faced yakshas from the west of the place, having traversed the world, chose to sail the webbed ridge and volunteered for the night watch. A task the insect-wise were only too happy to relinquish to these newcomers. The yakshas are proud and fierce by nature. They turned into feral Yogwais, yet they still clung to the old ways in the days when they were revered. They kept to their own, with lanterns lit from dusk to dawn, and rarely mingled with the insect-wise. To the latter they were a curious sight, with their merriment and banter that paid no heed to hierarchy or status. Yet what puzzled the insect-wise most was the Yakshas' bond, close-knit in joy, yet they'd often erupt into disputes and hurl sharp words with no restraint. One night a quarrel broke out during an idle chatter among 4 Yakshas on patrol, and their raucous noise woke the insect-wise. How must you carry on as this? The insect-wise rushed to mediate, persuading them, arguing one moment, chummy the next. Why not treat each other with proper respect like we do? In an instant the quarrel ceased, and in unison the Yakshas retorted, "You are mistaken," one spat. "Why, through open discourse we grow." Another chimed in, "Exactly. When we air our disagreements, it only makes our bond stronger." A third added, "Indeed, by having each other's backs, we've made it through a lot of tough times. Our harsh words don't mean any harm." The last concluded, "Unlike you insect-wise, we hide no secret grievances under the guise of harmony." With that, arm in arm, they departed, leaving the insect-wise to dismiss the exchange with bemused eye-rolls. It's because they love each other, that's why they argue. I guess. Grasshopper Guai. Slender legs, a verdant sheen. Each arm wields a sickle keen. Misty words are, his home so true. He cares for youth like me and you. During the reign of the greatest emperor of Han, there was a village called Bath. From within its mountains a hot spring flowed. Reputed to preserve youth and vitality, nobles flocked to it from far and wide. One day the Marquis of Lecheng came to visit with his 6-year-old son. The young lord caught a little grasshopper and wanted to keep it as a pet, so he tore off its wings and trapped it in a teacup. What? That night the Marquis was visited in his dreams by a man clad in green. "The child has imprisoned mine," he pleaded. "We are both fathers. I beseech you, help my little one." Ah, his 6-year-old son. The young lord caught a little grasshopper. Okay. The next morning, the Marquis summoned his son and inquired about what happened. The boy, who feared his stern father, only provided vague replies, thus the full story remained elusive to both. That night, the green-clad man revisited the Marquis's dreams. With twin swords at his waist, he warned, "If you don't return my son, you'll never see yours again." The Marquis woke with a sigh and rushed to his son's bed, only to find it empty. Servants scoured the village but found no trace. Now the young lord's page remembered the bug catching. He rushed to the study, found the overturned teacup, and gently released the grasshopper onto the grass. By noon the young lord returned home safely, yet his hands were red and swollen, and couldn't stop weeping. When questioned about the events of the previous night, he sobbed, "I dreamt of a man in green, a great jumper. He carried me on his back and hopped a few times, then I didn't know where I was. He scolded me for harming others and struck my paws with swords 20 times. When asked how he came back, he was unable to answer, overwhelmed by fear. Alas, it is said that all beings love their young, a truth that spans the world. Even Yaoguais, it seems, are no different." In the late years of the Han, the hot spring in Bath suddenly dried up. Insect-wise sprouted in the hills, so the villagers moved down the mountain. A decade or two later, the area became known as the Webbed Ridge. Ah. So the Webbed Ridge is Bath. Ah. Dragonfly Guai. Fly through the flowers and willows to shoot hidden arrows. Flap your wings and ride the crooked wind. It is difficult to achieve good deeds with small wisdom, and twos and threes block the way. There was a dragonfly guy who loved archery. His mother saw his gift and used her connections for an opportunity to have him train under the Yaguai king of the land. To the king, the dragonfly guy seemed like a diligent and talented student. He drilled hard each day and served his master with great respect, always at his master's command from his teacher. Master's beck and call. At times he'd be practicing outside, but a single command from his teacher. He'd appear at once. The king had doubts, but considering the dragonfly's swift wings, the king dismissed his suspicions. One day the king taught him how to imbue his bolts with greater power. Wait for the arrowhead to glow, then release. The guy swore he'd remember, but when tested that afternoon he couldn't recall anything. The king assumed he just hadn't grasped the lesson and explained it once more, but the next day he had forgotten it again. The pattern continued. The Yaguai king flew into a rage and set to punish the guy. The guy fell to his knees and pleaded, "Mercy, master. I have brothers. Each of us knows only a portion of the lessons. That's why I can't answer." At this, scores of identical dragonfly guys emerged, all kneeling and bowing non-stop. Offended yet tickled by this revelation, the king demoted them all to lonely patrol guards and taught them no more. Alas, while petty schemes might seem perfect at first, earning praise and favor, they also sow seeds of trouble. When the truth was revealed, one faces ridicule and brings ruin upon themselves. So I had multiple sons, but they only took one student, so they did this plan to actually train all the brothers. Let's see. That's called maximizing your classes. What's why? When the victory comes, it flies low, and when the power is exhausted, it flees far away. Work hard and wash away the die, and use the power to soar into the sky. A young man once lived in the Webbed Hollow. You may wonder how he found himself living among the Yaguais. A tale began in the kingdom of Juji, but he was born into a family of weavers. The craft passed down from through generations. One day his father left home in search of a jade shuttle, but never returned. His mother searched for him, only to be told he had abandoned them to marry into the Jew family. Consumed by grief and convinced that the Yaguai had ensnared her husband, she wept day after day. Thus, in his boyhood, the son vowed to slay the Yaguais and avenge his father. Years later, he heard merchants speak of the Jews as staying in the Red Bridge, home to women of unearthly beauty. He ventured there alone to exact vengeance, but as soon as he entered the mountains, the lesser Yaguais captured him. Terrified he was, before a little girl in yellow rescued him by commanding the Yaguais to stop. The girl, barely 10, had a sweet, rosy face, hardly an evil Yaguai as he imagined. The young man was at a loss. Is this Jubaje's daughter? To his surprise, the young girl, lonely, with few companions her age, brought him to the Webbed Hollow to play. He stayed, and she visited often to lift her spirits. Conflicted, he spent nights vowing by lamplight to slay the Yaguais and avenge his father come morning. One night a small wasp flew in and heard his oath, but he paid it no mind. The next day the girl didn't come. Instead, a woman in green, adorned with an elaborate bun and possessing a fierce yet beautiful face. A fourth sister arrived with their entourage of insect guards. Among them was a wasp Yaguai who, with practiced ease, deftly searched the young man's trunk, pulling out his hidden stash of travel money and the dagger intended for murder, hidden within his porcelain pillow, before relaying his nightly vow of vengeance to its mistress. The green-clad woman addressed the young man. "No mortal shall reside in Webbed Hollow, yet we spared you to be a companion for my younger sister. But in return, you plot to harm her, and you shall be punished for this. That being said, your quest for vengeance is understandable, which is why I shall leave your fate to the Bone Vault." At her command, the guard seized him, casting him into the abyss, his fate uncertain in the darkness below. Well, we know why he turned out to be. Damn wasps. Beetle Captain. Summer turns to winter. Spring returns to autumn. My body is wasting time and gradually becoming old and ugly. I know that my white hair has been exchanged for fame, and my stubborn and arrogant character has burdened your life. Unlike the bee, wasp, hornet, katydid, cockroach, grasshopper, and dragonfly, the adopted sons of the spider ladies, the beetle captain, earned his rank through his own valor. Perhaps this was what made him stubborn, quick to anger over slights to his status. He often quarreled with the lesser guys over matters of words and etiquette. They called him arrogant and overbearing behind his back, disliking him all the more. One day a petty dispute drove him to brandish his twin sabers at the lesser guards. Beetle Commander chanced by and pulled him aside. Think your deeds and skills command their respect, but know this: rank has no bearing on the actions of others. What would happen if you measured your worth by the regard of everyone? When stone spiders show you disrespect, you'd think that makes you their inferior. The captain retorted, "You're a commander, thus none dare offend you. But I'm a minor officer. If I don't assert myself, those lesser ones will scorn me even more." The commander shook his head. "If they treated you with greater deference than me, would that make you my superior in practice and skill? Nay, for I have observed that those who clamor most for respect often receive the least of it." What became of the beetle captain? Alas, he remained as he ever was, as one's nature could not be easily altered. It was then that he continued to contend with all who crossed his path until at last he was never to be seen again. I guess someone took him on his challenge and then he got wiped out. Stone Spider. Small and humble, a spider I be, yet in stone I adorn, with comrades in peril beside me. In the olden days, a lesser beetle guy in the webbed hollow rose to the rank of captain through sheer prowess, but the promotion smote his ego, and he lorded it over others until they shunned him, much to his ire. Upon a day of rest, the beetle captain found himself bereft of friends to squander the hours with, and thus roamed the cave alone. So he was lording it over others. He beheld a stone from which long and slender legs sprouted forth. As it turned out, the stone had held a spider stirring from slumber. These spiders, burdened with stones upon their backs, moved in a slow, clumsy manner. The captain, beset by a foul mood, kicked one over and laughed at its plight, as it flailed and struggled to right itself. With each attempt it made to stand, he flicked it down again, guffawing. I was bullying it. After who knows how long, the crisp raps echoed from the depths of the cave. Soon hordes of stone spiders marched out of the dark. Seeing the threat, the captain drew his weapons and charged into their midst. The spiders showed no fear. They hurled stones, spat silken venom, rammed and butted. They drove the captain into a rage. He spun his twin blades in a killing frenzy amidst the spiders. As he cut them down with zeal, a flicker of lantern light neared, followed by a playful voice. "You fool. You think you can slay every spider in the webbed hollow alone? Come with me. I'll take you to play under the peach blossoms." The beetle captain lifted his gaze to behold a maiden of unsurpassed beauty. His heart stirred, and he followed her at once. Henceforth, he was seen no more. One old choir mused, to slay spiders within their lairs, but to seek death itself. Didn't he get promoted because of the spiders? The spider ladies? Yeah, he works for them. Minor armor room. Almost there. Halfway. In foreign lands it toils and spins. Weaving cocoons, its work begins. Unable to transform and soar, it falls into the net once more. From the southern slopes of Mount Hawaii, one can gaze upon the radiant splendor of Mount Kunlun, its brilliance stretching for miles, exuding an awe-inspiring grandeur. On Mount Kunlun, there exists a creature called Ntolo, too low. It resembles a sheep, but has 4 horns and is known to devour humans. Another creature known as the Qinyuan looks like a bee, but is as large as a mandarin duck. Its sting is lethal to birds and beasts, and it can wither trees with a mere touch of its venom. King Mu of Zhou once had the fortune to visit Mount Kunlun. He toured its magnificent palaces, tasted various celestial herbs and delicacies, listened to sweet music performed by beautiful celestial maidens, and saw many wondrous mythical beasts. When the celestial maidens presented gifts to King Mu, he refused but pointed to the mythical beast in the garden and asked, "May I take one of those extraordinary creatures back with me?" The celestial maidens replied, "The beings of Kunlun drink from the celestial moat and feed on celestial herbs. And if you take them to the mortal realm, they will lose their form and abilities. It is better not to take them away, for if they transform, we cannot predict what calamities they might cause." And this armor worm is a transformed celestial beast. I see. Anyway, we'll start from Claw Cocoon all the way to Lush Leaf, but I'll do some combat first to actually ease my throat. I actually died. I couldn't get up. Alright.
是一颗虚构老弟炼制的还魂丹药不行啊！哎呦！
这断是个妙语安乐，不打紧。
Dr. Sudong first.
“道祖慈悲，好汉福寿无量。” 察天地动静之机，行运一庆。不消说，定是那老头欺负你了。好汉莫怪罪，我两个是旧相识，他的脾气我再熟悉不过。这老龙神力仍在，就是馋我的丹了，拿去给他便是。
Bone strengthening paw specially made by Sudong. Hurry deliver to the old long by Bitter Lake lest he continues his clamor. Got to retrieve the seeds.
现在我等兄弟莫小这一路，你怕是此地老夫是。一分耕耘，如此也好。闲谈误事。
I'm not gonna bother fighting him.
喝，小。
Thunderbolt horn.
老弟，今日弄点。小老弟切记，一分醉酒，10分醉赌。
Let's go back, start that quest. Save the guy. And then I can continue.
此河虽比不上通天河，要过来也多亏了这龟将。哎，想当年我跟师兄2人过通顶。 哟呵，有个人，出家人须得行善积德，去帮他一把。敌进我逃，我们可以躲也不可以。
Alright, you're safe now, old man.
你，小生幸得英雄大。唉，都说此地若有入险，稀奇古这冰天雪，稀奇古怪云路。
fight that golden Buddha head. How strong he is. Alright, let's keep going.
是龟蛇二将中的蛇将了，竟已变为一具枯骨。没了。
not bad. Doesn't matter if I go or not. Just keep going forward.
清些，陆逢峡处须防见。
Alright, Here's a good spot. What was up to you again? Clawed cocoon. Oh, nice. It keeps its position. Yeah, but mouse and keyboard. The world is full of hustle and bustle. How much money can you make from all the hustle and bustle? Will you be caught in the trap of heaven and earth and be entangled by the thread of chance? In the kingdom of Juji, a curious tale prevailed. No matter how many kings came and went, the Jew family of the royal weaving office never relocated. They wove a fabric known as celestial silk, gleaming as moonlight, light as clouds. Nobility and merchants alike clamored for it. The city's weavers seethed with jealousy, but none could replicate it. Over time, whispers spread that the Jews owed their skill to a jade shuttle bestowed by the red-clad immortal. One weaver was convinced that obtaining that shuttle would also secure his fortune. Was that the father? On a deep dark night, he sneaked into the Jew's workshop outside the city walls during the second watch. Yeah, the father was convinced wanted to get the jade shuttle, but he disappeared. Whose father was it again? Anyway. The Jews were rich enough to have their workshops sprawled wide and vast. In the dead of night, not a soul was in sight. The weaver crept through the yards of draping silk, when a pure white light fell upon the center of the drying racks. The moon dimmed, and the darkness swallowed all but that single shining pillar joining earth and sky. The weaver stumbled up toward it, and discovered the pillar of light was made of countless strands of silk. 2 monstrous silkworms were spinning these strands into cocoons and hanging them on the drying racks. The cocoons' hooked feet grabbed the silk strands and passed the jade shuttle back and forth, weaving the exquisite fabric. Dazed, the weaver became fixated on the shuttle, convinced that owning it would endow him with the same power, but the cocoons impaled him with their sharp hooks in the blink of an eye. As he lay dying, he saw the worms crawling toward him. They carried him into the pillar of light and wrapped him in a luminous cocoon. No. Well, good day. Scorpion Prince. Silent it hides with venomous claws, barbed hooks laced with deadly flaws. It arrives with a fierce, bold show, but in defeat it tucks tail and goes. The 4 sons of the Scorpion House often secretly inquired about each other's recent activities. This was not out of brotherly affection, but rather due to a competitive spirit, fearing that one of them might be chosen by one of the sisters in the cave before the others. Not only did they spy on each other's whereabouts, but they also felt compelled to comment on them afterward. If they heard that a brother had achieved something recently, they would make sarcastic remarks and express jealousy. Conversely, if a brother had made a mistake, they would mock and ridicule him, taking pleasure in his misfortune. Well, that's a toxic environment. Confused by such behavior, the lesser Yaoguais in the cave approached Beetle Commander to seek an explanation. Beetle Commander explained, their fear isn't about failing to marry a lady. It's that their brother's promotion will cut into their own benefits. Hearing this, the lesser Yaoguais were even more perplexed. Beetle Commander continued, the 100-eyed Taoist master will not permit the Scorpion family to amass excessive power. Thus, if one of the 4 brothers ascends to the position of Prince Consort, thus prospects for the others inevitably wane. This principle extends to the official roles within the cave. Take Scorpion Eldest, for example. For instance, having gained the favor of the second madam, he faces the most exclusion from his brothers. But the eldest one is indeed more capable, while the others are not as competent, one lesser Yaogwai chimed in. Exactly, because he has some skill. His brothers not only talk behind his back, and don't dare to confront him directly. Where it's someone less skilled, it might not be the same. Sword Taoist. To seek the Tao, he journeys far. With steadfast heart he finds the gate. In the depths of sword skills, he glimpses roots of ascension innate. Every 10 years, the Temple of Yellow Flowers opens its doors to recruit disciples. One day, a newly admitted young Taoist discovered that the disciples focused on innate practice, but divided into 3 different groups based on their skills. One group staves, another used fly whisks, and the third used swords. The young Taoist observed them closely and noticed that the disciples who used staves and fly whisks were also responsible for various chores around the temple, and had less favorable living conditions. In contrast, the disciples who used swords only needed to focus on their training, and they were even privileged to receive daily guidance from the master. The young Taoist secretly consulted the senior disciples and found out that the sword disciples were also the quickest to achieve enlightenment and ascension. However, becoming a disciple of the sword group was no easy task. It required passing a rigorous examination by the master, and only those deemed to have the highest potential were given the opportunity. The young Taoist visited each senior disciple, noting down the questions the master had asked them in the past, and made thorough preparations. Eventually, he succeeded in his endeavor, winning first place. The master personally tied his hair into a top knot and bestowed upon him a sword. From the moment he joined the sword group, he woke up early every day to train under the supervision of Beetle Commander. In the afternoons, he strengthened his chi under the master's guidance. Though the life was monotonous and arduous, he was very content. After more than a decade of rigorous cultivation, the disciples of Sword Group finally earned the master's approval. The master informed them that the skills are now proficient enough for them to enter the mountains for secluded meditation. If they were fortunate enough, they could achieve the ascension. I don't think any of them did, because I kind of wiped them out. Fly with Taoist. The less competent ones. The wide robe and crane cloak flutter in the breeze. Why compare the righteous with the unrighteous, please? Praising virtues and merits disturbs the sweet dream. Whisking dust and sweeping earth disrupts the serene theme. In pitiful Hamlet lived the Taoist. He had taken his vows last and was the youngest, and thus the Grandmaster doted on him. He too was glad to wait on the Grandmaster at all times. If the Grandmaster extended a hand, he served tea. If the Grandmaster lifted a foot, he removed his shoe. He swatted flies, fanned the breeze, and made the bed, and tidied the covers, quick and thorough in his duties. The Grandmaster favored him greatly. His fellow disciples burned with jealousy, but they couldn't stoop to such fawning. They could only speak ill of him behind his back and bully him to vent their ire. Yeah, but they couldn't even commit to such a, I don't know, butt sniffing. One day the Grandmaster held a test to assess his disciples' learning. When it was the turn of the youngest, he decided to be lenient with him. He only asked him to recite a passage from the scripture of Tao De Jing. This young disciple was put on a smug face and chanted in a loud, clear voice. Tao produced 1, 1. Produced 2, 2. Produced 3, 3. Produced all things. The disciples had long awaited this moment. Their wish was finally granted. They roared with laughter and even stole glances at the Grandmaster to see his reaction. Grandmaster, furious, stormed off in a huff. The other disciples then warned the young one. You've committed a grave blunder and incited his anger today. Don't dream of learning any solid skills from him now. After that incident, the Grandmaster shunned the youngest disciple. But he found he had no one to wait on him properly. Every time he reminisced about the young disciple's attentiveness. Before long, the disciple was summoned to serve him again. When he saw the disciple's disinterest in the Taoist learning, his aversion returned. One day, the young disciple implored the Grandmaster to teach him some skills. The Grandmaster took the fly swatting. Fan weaving motions the boy did each day and made them into a set of moves. Who knows if it was meant as sarcasm? In the end, he taught the boy those moves and wind-wielding techniques, and that was all the boy could hope for. One produced 2, 2 produced 3, 3 produced all things. Was that wrong? Staff Taoist. Fairy mountains, clouds and waters are connected to the horizon, and home is nowhere to be seen. Holding a stick, I walk far into the dangerous nest and enjoy the white snow and yellow buds. Long ago, a mountain village sat on a ridge teeming with insects. Strange things kept happening, so the villagers all moved out, leaving it a deserted village. Bath. In the village below lived a young man. His mother had died, and his father was a poor wastrel who paid him no mind. The villagers looked down on him and often abused him. He felt he couldn't endure such disdain, so he fled to live in the abandoned village. Little did he know that the village was claimed by a swarm of insect guys. As soon as the young man reached the ridge, the Yao Guai seized him. He didn't fight back, as a deep-rooted death wish stemming from a life without attachments had long infested his heart. Seeing his resignation, the insects didn't harm him. Instead, they provided him shelter in a dilapidated shack. Oh my god, they decided to torture him. That night, a middle-aged Taoist brought him food and clothing. Now that you have nowhere to go, so I brought you some things for daily use. If you don't mind, take me as your master and stay here. I can teach you practices for ascension. The youth hadn't been cared for in so long. He eagerly donned the Taoist robe and performed the rites to acknowledge his master. From then on, he lived and trained with the insect guys. They spent their days dining and walking together, and at night they slept side by side. One day, a scholar barged into the young man's room. Just escaped from the Yao Guai's lair. They trapped me in the cocoon sack, and I'm unsure of their intentions. I'm fleeing this place. You're human. You should come with me. The young man shook his head. I'm content here. Why should I leave? The scholar grew angry. Because they're Yao Guais and you're human. If they don't harm you, staying with them long enough will turn you into a Yao Guai as well. You're right, the young man said as he grabbed his staff and knocked the scholar to the ground. But even if I turn into a Yao Guai, I'll do so gladly. The scholar deemed that the young man was past saving. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he crawled out of the door and fled alone. He decided to become one with the Yao Guais. Snake herbalist. Pine, bamboo, plum grant him a blue hue. Yet hearts of jackals, tigers, and leopards he possesses true. Collecting herbs from mountains and streams, no desire to aid the world lost in selfish dreams. In the old days, there was a Taoist temple at the foot of Purple Cloud Mountain. An ascetic Taoist nun, worn from her long travels, sought shelter there one night. The temple nuns, moved by her devotion, offered her hot water and fresh clothes. As she bathed, the nun heard a sound from the rafters. Without showing any sign of alarm, she put on her robe and nonchalantly picked up her fly whisk. With a gentle flick, the whisk stretched and coiled with her motion, snaking up to the rafters and seizing a Yao Guai. Alerted by the commotion, the temple nuns rushed to the room to investigate. On the ground crouched a snake guai with green scales. Unfazed by its capture, it seemed the nuns have been its prior victims, now taking turns to scold it. The snake guai looked at them with contempt and puffed out its cheeks to spew green venom in every direction. Anyone struck by even a drop collapsed at once, writhing in pain. As the guai had no remorse, the nun took out a wispy golden needle, prepared to destroy it. Only then did the snake show fear. It pleaded at once. Just a lesser herbalist guai from the mountain. My basking outside is the antidote for them. Please, will you spare my life, immortal lady? Hearing its sincere plea, the nun granted it mercy. The guai rummaged in its basket and handed her some small white pellets. These are the leaves of the pearl tree. They're rare in the mortal world and can cure all venoms. It fed one to each Taoist nun, and they recovered at once. After that, the temple always had three tree petals in hand, and many afflicted by venom came here to seek aid. But the high cost of the tree pearl meant many, unable to afford it, had to face the toxin's fatal outcome. Man, shouldn't have spat venom at him. Now lost on this medicine as well. Snake Sheriff. A head so large, a tail so thin, 7 feet long, a patterned form. Electric eyes, fierce and strong, with tiger stripes it boasts with pride. Yet behind its head, a strange guise hides. In the mountains, there was a tiger with a strong desire for the Tao. He traveled across high mountains and great rivers, seeking a Taoist temple to practice. However, his Taoist affinity was thin, and he couldn't find a master willing to accept him until he reached the Webbed Ridge, hoping to become a disciple under an accomplished immortal. At first, the immortal master disdained him for being a mere tiger, unlike his other disciples, and refused to meet him. The tiger now outside the mountain gate for several days without rising. The immortal master, sensing his sincerity, gave him a chance and accepted him as an outer disciple. Unexpectedly, the tiger had no steadfastness. After the initial fervor, he didn't put in the effort. Okay, the immortal master advised him, one's practice relies on oneself, not the master. But the tiger couldn't grasp this and was punished to guard the mountain at Forest of Ferocity. Feeling resentful, the tiger became even lazier, spending his days lying idly under a tree and cursing his master to pass the time. One day, while half asleep under the tree, complaining about his master, he suddenly heard a soft sigh and felt something slip into his mouth. Startled, he sat up. There was no one around. He retched for a long time but couldn't expel anything, thinking it was just a dream. After some time, the tiger's neck became long and thin, and he could no longer speak. He diligently patrolled Forest of Ferocity every day. People whispered among themselves. He started his Taoist practice with enthusiasm but ended poorly. The master must have punished him, which is why he looks like this now. From now on, we best be careful. Yeah, he kept cursing. And a snake slithered into his mouth. Anyway, worm practitioner. Yeah, not sure what the hell they were thinking. Swallowing pills to hasten flight. In tainted streams he shares the blight. Better to seek the straight and true, than in the crooked paths pursue. The disciples who practiced swordsmanship in the temple had been training under the master for a long time. Since joining the group, they had all harbored the wish to attain ascension, diligently practicing their skills with great perseverance. One day, the master finally informed his disciples that after years of rigorous training, their skills had become proficient. He told them that they could now follow him to the mountains for secluded meditation. They were fortunate they might achieve ascension and become immortals. The disciples were overjoyed and eagerly packed their belongings to follow their master into the mountains. The master led them, using a teleportation technique, to a breathtakingly beautiful mountain. The mountain was rustling golden leaves, presenting a scene of crisp, refreshing autumn weather. At the mountain's peak, there was a hamlet, where they set down their belongings. The master then led them along a path behind the hamlet to the summit. There they saw strands of silk hanging in the air. Ah, this Purple Cloud Mountain, with one end suspended at the mountain mist and the other reaching high into the clouds, destination unknown. The master said, "This is the celestial ladder to the immortal kingdom. Hundreds of years ago, your senior brother ascended to immortality from this very spot." But then he handed each of them a peculiar object of violet color and said, "This is a pill to aid your ascension. Quickly, my disciples, consume it." Oh boy. The disciples, filled with excitement, immediately swallowed the lava-like objects. A few hesitated, only to see a terrifying and disgusting scene. The disciples taken the pills and transformed into a flat-headed, fleshy worms. Horrified, they questioned their master, shaking. The master shook his head and sighed, "When the opportunity arises, your courage fails, which makes you unfit to become immortals." Before his sigh had ended, the disciples who had transformed into worms lunged at them. Well, better swallow those pills. So he was turning them into monsters. I'm not sure for what purpose. Oh wait. To feed the... I forget what it's called. The rooster. Lush leaf. Amidst the lush leaves embrace, free from the dust of life's race, branches side by side they stand, their pursuit as firm as land. Once a wealthy scion, seeking the path of the immortals, abandoned his family fortune and retreated to the mountains for solitary practice. Accustomed to being served, he struggled alone and often faltered in basic chores. One day, while washing clothes, his basin drifted away. He sat by the river and wailed aloud. Suddenly, from the rustling trees, a young and beautiful woman glided down to him. She landed before him, inquired about his plight, and consoled him, saying, "Your devotion has moved the spirit of these cypresses such as me. You have my aid." She would prepare his meals, launder his clothes, and always leave as silently as she came. Yet the boy's heart harbored other thoughts. He said to her, "Since you care for me so, why not join me in practice as a Taoist partners and harmonize yin with yang?" Oh, flirting, eh? Enraged by his audacity, the woman sharply rebuked him. "Our practices take on different paths, and mine has been kept for a millennium. Why would I risk this practice because of you?" She left swiftly, but after many tearful pleas by the river, the boy was forgiven. However, within half a year, he broached her with the proposal again, persisting in his deluded fantasy. The woman, after pondering, said, "How can you speak of the practice of yin and yang with me before you see my true form? Allow me, and you shall see." She led him deep into the woods and revealed a massive gnarled cypress tree. She glided onto its canopy and disappeared. The cypress let out a mighty roar and rose from the ground. With a flick of power, it summoned the surrounding shrubs. Together they encircled the boy, intending to teach him a lesson. Overcome with fear, he fled back to his home and abandoned his pursuit of Tao. I thought I was going to beat him up. Ah. So these are the treants. And they can take the form of a woman. Nice. Okay, chiefs are next, then kings and characters. Alright. Let's kill a boss or two.
你要去寺里，我带你的。
只是求佛，还有谁？小徒弟。 怎丢开老朱？喂，你的鬼娃又是哪儿冒？
Wonder who this child is supposed to be.
出家人要逢庙烧香，与夫人肉饮。
哦，老朱明白了，那小和尚让四处找找，是让我们拜寺子了。疯婆和尚，忒没道理。
What happens if I go up there? Would I see anything? I think it's supposed to be here. Might as well grab it, right?
生，做个样子便好。那小和尚故弄玄虚，谁知真假？ 当年过小西天，便是因为师傅他老人家以为到了灵山见佛便拜，被黄梅捉了。切，老朱可不上当。不好惹！ 么动静？这不是那小和尚耍把戏，办什么办？回去瞧瞧。
No, there's nothing there yet.
小花和尚，能拜的全拜了，路呢？
Man, that's steep. You're gonna encounter non-white. doesn't seem this strange. The IQ works too well against him. Just had to die once. Alright. Okay. Let's read another entry. Chiefs. Which one are we up to now? Non-white. No, we've already done that. Right. That's the boss I just killed. We're going with Sixth Sister. Then it'll go to Taoist Me. That's actually not too much. These are the chiefs. Anyway. The Sixth Sister. In hidden groves, a home appears. Laughter fills the path with flowers near. Geralt chases the butterflies in flight, as rumors fade like shooting stars in the night. In the webbed hollow there were no children of the same age as the Sixth Sister. She usually spent her time with her elder sisters, who were all very nice to her, although the fourth sister would strictly supervise her training. Sometimes when she trained diligently, The fourth sister would take her to the mountain top to gaze at the scenery outside and tell her stories about the world beyond the mountains. Although she enjoyed following her fourth sister, the fourth sister often went into the mountains to investigate secrets unknown to her. Claiming it was dangerous, she refused to take her along, which left the sixth sister feeling bored. One day a flower viewing banquet was held in the mountains, and the lesser Yaoguais from Mount Wushan came to deliver gifts. As usual, after completing their tasks, they were invited to stay and drink. The elder sisters were busy entertaining guests and taking care of their mother, so the sixth sister wandered off on her own. The steward Guai, unable to refuse her, had to accompany her around the cave for a while. Two drunken pig Guais saw the sixth sister and pointed at her, saying, "Is that the one?" The other pig Guai replied, "Yes, that's the one." Feeling annoyed by their comments, the sixth sister retorted, "Well, why are you pig Guais pointing at me? Where are your manners? What do you mean for this and that?" Steward Guai tried to signal the pig Guais to shut up, but they continued, "Little girl, let us tell you a secret that everyone knows, but you." Steward Guai quickly tried to intervene, but the sixth sister earnestly said, "Go ahead." The two pig Guais laughed and said, "Your father is a pig just like us. You are a relative of our old pig family." Contrary to their expectations, the little girl didn't burst in anger or throw a tantrum. Instead, she pouted and spoke with a dismissive tone, saying, "You must be attempting to establish a connection with me because you lack skill in your craft and seek to exploit me. The one my mother chose would never be someone as despicable as you." Hearing this, the pig Guais felt embarrassed and never dared to joke at her again. The fifth sister. Orioles are charming. Swallows love to play. Sisters close in bond, let them not be swayed by worldly fray. The fifth daughter of the Zhu family, in the prime of her youth, was renowned for her stunning beauty. One night, dark clouds obscured the moon, and a chilly wind swept over the ridge, signaling an impending storm. The fifth sister was accompanying her second sister in the village, overseeing the work of the lesser Yaoguais, when she spotted a traveling scholar seeking shelter from the rain. Feeling mischievous, she decided to play a trick on him. The scholar, being somewhat naive, was worried about his bookcase getting soaked and rushed into the deserted village without noticing the Yaoguais. He barely made it inside, bolted the door and lit an oil lamp, just as the rain began to pour heavily outside. Gazing at the rain through the window, the scholar was inspired to recite poetry. Huge land in turmoil, the court in disarray. Like thunderclaps in clear skies, they sway. A clap of thunder roared. The scholar thought he saw the window shake, but paid it no mind until he finished reciting, feeling refreshed. As he finished the line, he noticed the window lattice move again. Assuming it was the wind and rain, he hurriedly shut the window. After finishing his poem, feeling refreshed, he suddenly realized someone was knocking at the door. He caught a glimpse of a graceful silhouette at the door's paper screen. A sense of alarm washed over him as he entertained the thought that it could be a Yaoguai. However, considering his own wretched and unremarkable existence, he somehow found solace in the idea of becoming a victim of beauty. As the scholar hurriedly got up and flung the door open, expecting to see a stunning Yaoguai, he instead met with a horrifying sight. A ghost with disheveled hair and pus-filled eyes. Overwhelmed with terror, he let out a scream and instinctively pushed past her, desperate to escape the haunted house. Outside the door, the fifth daughter, playing with her delicate fingers, leaned gracefully against the wall, only to be knocked off balance. Angrily, she walked into the house, cursing the scholar for his rudeness, and happened to see an old bronze mirror on the desk. Picking it up, she found that the storm had washed away her makeup, leaving her face a patchwork of colors, with her wet hair covering it. She looked truly frightening. Even she couldn't help but laugh. Oh, I see. The fourth sister. Sword raised to the azure sky. Enemy blood stains the black robe high. Fortunate to be a maiden fair, outshining heroes with grace and flair. In the old days, the Scorpion Lord brought his 4 sons to the Temple of Yellow Flowers, seeking refuge. The 100-eyed Taoist master, coveting the power of his venom, promised to arrange marriages between the young Spider Yaoguais and the Scorpion Princess. Hence he called forth Violet Spider and 4 of her daughters to meet them. Once everyone was seated, the Taoist master asked the princes to introduce themselves one by one. The eldest prince stood up, thumping his chest, and declared, "My skills were personally taught by my father. Among my brothers, I am the best bachelor. If all the sisters wish to marry me, don't let it cause any discord." All the sisters. Seeing the sisters frown, the second prince quickly stood up and interjected. "Sisters, please forgive my brother's recklessness. Strong as he is, which I admit, I am no less capable. If you choose me as your husband, I'll expand our domain and make it prosperous." Taoist master was displeased by the second prince's ambition, and the sisters too remained non-committal, turning their gaze to the third Scorpion son. Feeling the pressure of their stares, he reluctantly said, "My brothers are all skilled, and my younger brother is also exceptional. Sisters, please consider carefully before making a choice." The fourth prince, disdainful of his third brother's lack of confidence, said, "My third brother is a bit awkward in temperament. Hope you don't mind. Although I am younger, my future is promising. Choosing me is choosing the future." After hearing their self-introductions, the Taoist master asked the 4 daughters of the Ju family to express their opinions one by one. The eldest daughter spoke gently. "With many sisters to look after and our mother's illness, I cannot lay down this burden and let my sisters suffer. My marriage can wait a few more years." The Scorpions shook their heads, expressing regret. The second sister laughed coquettishly and said, "I'm busy managing the family business alone, with many financial gaps to fill. If any of you are willing to help bridge these gaps, I might consider marriage." The Scorpion Lord's mountain had long since fallen into ruin, with no more wealth to speak of, so the second sister's words effectively ended the conversation. The third sister, holding a fan, said, "I wish to marry someone with whom I can live in harmony. I love the poetry of Luo Yin. Have any of you read his works?" It's likely that the 4 princes didn't even know what poetry was, let alone who Luo Yin was. Consequently, everyone pinned their hopes on the 4th sister. Sitting at the end, the 4th sister hummed softly out of boredom before speaking. "My sisters, you were too polite, speaking so tactfully that they probably didn't even understand. This so-called meeting is just a scheme against us. We would end up with no gain, while they take out dowries and positions in our cave. How dare they consider us as the ones to be taken advantage of? They call themselves princes, yet none of them are noble. If they truly had any skills, why not earn their own fortunes instead of showing off and making fools of themselves here?" After the 4th sister's outburst, the conversation at the table shifted to criticizing her. Though apologies were exchanged, the topic of marriage was never brought up again. The third sister. In seclusion for 100 springs, truth and falsehood the mountain brings. Rosy face turns into grey hair. Love stories seldom end fair. The third daughter of the Ju family, graceful in demeanor and gentle in nature, loved reading and writing. Observing that her younger sisters were still naive, and her 2 older sisters were extremely busy, she focused on needlework and became the best weaver in the family. The fabric shop run by the second sister outside used weaving patterns designed by the third sister. The weavers of the cave were also trained by her. Due to her gentle and kind-hearted nature, she often found it difficult to command the Yaoguais. Thus the 5th sister became her best assistant. While the third sister taught with the weaving patterns in hand, the 5th sister followed with a punishing ruler. If any weaver was particularly unruly, the straightforward 5th sister would report them to the second sister, who would then seal the offender in a cocoon to be used as food. Because the eldest and second sisters were often preoccupied with various affairs, the 5th sister had been following the third sister since childhood. I'm getting confused with so many sisters. The third sister was very quiet, so the 5th sister became her lively counterpart. The 2 sisters bickered and quarreled, but made the days pass more easily. Among the books the third sister often read were those strange mortal anecdote. She always found them fascinating and longed to experience those romantic scenes depicted. However, she was too wise to fall for any romantic scholar, knowing that most Yaoguais in their stories met tragic ends. Second sister. With powdered face and hair in a twist, a slender waist adorned with jade amidst, as charming as a maiden from the skies, yet most formidable when she vies. The second daughter of the Zhu family was raised as a boy. From a young age. She managed the finances and trades for the cave. Due to her straightforward and generous nature, she had the most interactions with the stewards outside the mountain and the lesser Yaoguais in the village of Langxi. Because she was busy with numerous affairs, the lesser Yaoguais had fixed times to report and offer tributes to her. Most of these Yaoguais, who were on good terms with her, both respected and feared her. They believed that their capable and strong-willed lady might one day become the lady of the cave. If that happened, anyone fortunate enough to marry into the family could become a lord by association. This caused much distress for the 4 scorpion princes residing in the cave, who were often the subject of idle gossip. The second sister paid no mind to such rumors. Among the 4 sons of the scorpion lord, she favored only those who were the most helpful to her. A few days ago, she had acquired a celestial vine seed from somewhere and planted it in her private courtyard within the cave, assigning the elder scorpion prince to guard it. The elder scorpion prince, delighted, assumed this meant the second sister had feelings for him. Sure. One day he approached the 100-eyed Taoist master, asking for help in matchmaking. The master laughed and shook his head, saying that a woman with such a strong will would only look down on him more if he sought someone else's help in proposing. He advised the prince to come up with a plan on his own. After returning to the cave, the elder scorpion prince circled the celestial vine repeatedly, but he still hasn't figured out a way to win her heart. Give her money. Then she'll love you. The first sister. The path home is covered in green moss. Peach blossoms begin to bloom across. How tender and gentle her caring affection. Among sisters, a loving connection. The elder sister of the Zhu family was gentle and serene, caring for her younger sisters like a mother. She meticulously managed every aspect of their daily lives. Even the straightforward second sister and the independent fourth sister behaved obediently and showed a touch of girlish charm in her presence. Each day she oversaw the cave's catering, everyone's clothing, and was the go-to for disputes, illnesses, joys, and sorrows, keeping her busy from dawn to dusk. There was always a steady stream of curious lesser Yaoguais coming to her with messages. My lady, the second and fourth sisters are arguing. My lady, the fifth lady scolded a weaver, and now they need an extra hand. Can someone be sent? My lady, the sixth lady injured herself while practicing and asked for you to come and have a look. One day the lady of the house, her mother, called her to her side. As soon as she stepped into the hut, the tranquil scene of the mother admiring the flowers under the tree caught her eyes, and her mother waved her over, saying, "The flowers in our abode are more beautiful than those in the upper realm." Meanwhile, outside the hut, the lesser Yaoguais in charge of catering was waiting for her to decide the menu, and the steward overseeing the cocoons was waiting to report matters. The eldest sister asked, "Mother, is there something you wish to instruct me on?" Her mother gently took her hand and said, "I just wanted you to accompany me in admiring these flowers." She smiled warmly, adding, I worry they will wear you out." The eldest sister looked at her mother and was suddenly transported back to many years ago, when her mother had held her hand, the same way as they admired the peach blossoms together. The flowers were beautiful then, and so was her mother. Elder Armorworm. In the celestial garden, rare seeds grow. By the purifying spring with an immortal glow, transformed in the lower realm, forms unique, such path to Tao, refined and sleek. In ancient times, someone cast 2 celestial eggs from Mount Kunlun into a blessed land on earth. This is a King Mu. However, the will of the mortal realm was not as abundant as the celestial realm. As a result, the celestial eggs failed to fully nurture and lost many of their wondrous abilities. taking on vastly different forms. One of these celestial eggs was used to redeem the guilty, while the other was hidden away by someone with ulterior motives. From this hidden egg, various creatures emerged, and it came to be known as the Elder Armor Worm. Every few days, the Elder Armor Worm would produce insect eggs that resembled blood sacs. These eggs were ingested by a living being. The larva will devour their internal organs. Depending on the innate differences of the larva, the host would undergo a transformation, turning them into one of many types of insects. The Taoists. If the eggs of the Elder Armor Worm were not ingested, they would naturally hatch into an ordinary armor worm. These ordinary armor worms would spin silk to create cocoons, which they used to trap their prey. The cocoons contain potent toxins that cause the trapped creatures to experience the sensation of flying in the wind, as if floating on clouds, instead of feeling suffocated. However, prolonged exposure to these toxins led to abnormal changes in their bodies over time. Some practitioners attempted to use this method to temper their bodies and enhance their powers. However, it was ultimately considered a deviant practice that easily led to a loss of sanity. Since the celestial egg entered the mortal world, many have fallen victim to its poison. The armor worm, despite its terrifying appearance, is not adept at combat. Aside from spewing filth from its mouth, it possesses no remarkable abilities. However, its continued existence and proliferation in the world suggest that it must provide some unknown benefits to certain individuals. Centipede Y. Twisted in form, it charges like a gale. With feet unfurled, it strides a deadly trail. Aware its breath, the venomous embrace. Its narrow bounds seek a wider space. In bygone days, young man embarked on a journey to the webbed hollow, seeking vengeance. However, his quest took a dark turn when he was captured by jaguars and thrown into the bone vault. So that's the bone vault. Falling into a deep pit, he landed a lair of large insects. Despite suffering a broken leg, managed to survive. As he looked around, all he could see was skeletons and remains, filling him with despair. In the midst of his despair, felt a sharp pain in his leg. A massive centipede, as long as a person, had bitten him and torn off a piece of his flesh to devour. God dang. Filled with terror, the young man instinctively grabbed a stone and viciously crushed the centipede until it burst apart. Only then did he realize that the stone he used was a human skull, which he quickly discarded. Oh boy. To his surprise, he noticed that the pain in his injured leg had subsided. Curious, he applied some of the centipede's pus to a scraped arm, and the pain diminished, likely due to the numbing effect of the venom. This revelation sparked an idea in his mind. He tore strong silk threads from the cocoon surrounding the pit and found 2 leg bones to serve as support for his broken leg. Exhausted from the ordeal, he rested, but soon heard rustling sounds around him. The search for the source of the noise abruptly ceased. Suddenly, a giant white ball descended from above, bouncing several times before unfurling into a massive centipede, hundreds of times larger than the first one. Swiftly, the young man curled himself into a ball, mimicking the centipede's movements to confuse the colossal creature. At that moment, more objects fell into the pit, empty skins and remains. From there emerged a swarm of smaller centipedes, feasting on the discarded scraps. They passed by the young man, mistaking him for one of their own. Realizing this, he began to imitate their behavior, observing their habits and assimilating into their society. After 10 days, he finally managed to escape the webbed hollow. Basking in the daylight, he came to understanding that dwelling in the past would not allow him to live a fulfilling life. Returning to his hometown, he sought to lead a peaceful existence. However, the weavers, aware of his visit to Drew's estate, gathered at his doorstep, demanding that he retrieve treasures from the estate. Forced to hide from them, he found no respite from the turmoil that surrounded him. Wait, he's the scholar with the broken leg. Did he actually go to that Taoist? The staff Taoist? And try to convince him to leave as well? But he wouldn't? Yeah, it might be the same guy. Bodhisattva's right hand. The hand that plucked lotus from waters pristine. Of the same species, yet not from the same egg, it seems. who can discern right from left in life's uncertain scheme. In this tangled web, truth and illusion gleam. What a weird-looking monster. In the olden days, a pair of enormous arms were brought into the webbed hollow by a Taoist. The lesser Yaoguais had no idea of their origin, but judging from their form, they must have once belonged to a divine being. Shortly after, the 100-eyed Taoist master personally visited and placed 2 egg-like objects within the arms, instructing the Yaoguais to guard them diligently. At first, the arms exuded a thick, foul-smelling liquid. After some time, the fluid dried up, forming a thick blood membrane that encased the arms. Years passed, and from a distance, one could see something writhing within the blood membrane, as if something was growing inside, eager to break free. Exactly 10 days later, 2 insects emerged from the eggs. Their bodies resembled bees, and their tails like hands, and their venomous spit could kill any bird or beast and wither any plant it touched. The 100-eyed Taoist master rejoiced at the news and arranged a grand feast to celebrate. Amidst the banquet, he turned to the violet spider and shared a tale. You may not be aware, but I once attempted a similar endeavor on Purple Cloud Mountain. Alas, the celestial eggs failed to hatch as intended, and I faced severe reprimand from our master. However, this time I have come to realize that the celestial eggs bestowed upon us were not meant for lofty destinies to ascend. Creating Yaoguais, on the other hand, is an ideal outcome. While the insects had a left hand for a tail, and the other had a right hand, they loved to hang upside down from the cave ceiling, dangling their tails to lure prey. When the prey approached, they would clap their hands together, crushing their prey into a pulp before lowering their heads to swallow it whole. Later, the left-hand insect went into the mountains to practice, while the right-hand one, now unable to clap, preferred to guard narrow paths. They would take full advantage of the terrain and capture and devour any intruders. So, it went to the mountains to practice but was eaten by the frog? Most likely. Boligubol. It ate the left hand. By rocks, a living spring does flow, glistening clear, glitters with glow. In its charm, a frog lord does dwell, frog's venom both sweet and foul. Continuing from the previous story, the Taoist was rescued from the cold pond by monks, who carried him into the mountains. Oh yeah, this story. With all the other frogs. He initially expected them to take him to a temple for healing, but to his surprise they threw him into a dungeon. Oh. In the dungeon he endured beguiling chants, suffered from red eyes, and narrowly escaped death multiple times. Despite the hardships, his martial skills improved significantly, which he considered a fortunate turn of events. When he finally returned to the original spot, the frog was nowhere to be found. He left the New West and continued his journey. Wait, so he escaped? One sunny day, the Taoist arrived at the ridge covered in lush greenery, with a few thatched huts indicating habitation. Seeking a place to rest, he stepped into a large courtyard but accidentally fell into a hole. Webbed hollow. Inside he found layers of spider webs and insect wires everywhere. Fortunately, he was no longer as helpless as before and managed to navigate deeper into the cave. The tadpoles he had been nurturing in his gourd suddenly became lively. He squeezed through a stone crevice and saw a large crimson-skinned frog occupying a natural spring, with insect wires keeping their distance. Drawing his sword, he attacked the frog. They fought fiercely in the water, one emitting crackling electricity, the other thrashing its limbs powerfully. As they reached a stalemate, the frog opened its mouth and extended a left hand from within, striking the Taoist's face and sending him back. The frog then tilted its head back, and the Taoist, having learned his lesson, dared not approach. The frog spewed poisonous water which spread and contaminated the entire pond. The Taoist hadn't anticipated this ability, and lacking any antidote, hurriedly retreated through the stone crevice. As he did, he heard a female voice behind him. Taoist, Why aren't you practicing your swordsmanship at the temple? Why are you here to seek death? Poisoned and unable to respond, he collapsed into the muddy pond. In his hazy state, he heard the woman call for help. Quick, carry him back to the temple. Can't let him die here. Be hard to explain. Beetle Commander. When faced with traps, one must pass the test. When fortune smiles, do know when to rest. If a man of great will must vent his zest, trade deeds for fame and rank with the best. A young man from the village of Shaded Heights served at the county yamen, running errands for the local government. The magistrate despised him and hindered his advances at every turn. One day the magistrate learned of a Yaguai hunting the village of Langshi. He sent the young man to investigate alone and hoped he'd never return. Aware of the magistrate's ill intent, the young man accepted the task without hesitation. He chose not to beg for his life in this. As he entered the desolate, eerie village, he was overcome with regret. As night fell, and without knowledge of the mountain paths, he had no choice but to stay. They found a less dilapidated house with intact eaves, barred all doors and windows, and lit a lamp to steel himself for a long night, planning to depart at first light. Fear gripped him at midnight, so he practiced his swordplay to calm his nerves. After a while, a deep voice arose from the darkness above the rafters. I am a Yaguai of this ridge. I meant to kill you, both your fine swordsmanship and the official blade. You must be a yamen runner, yes? The young man was startled but needed to voice his woes. He shared his ordeal with the Yaguai and drew sighs of empathy. The Yaguai said, I too was once an Imperial Guard, but treacherous court official cursed me into a beetle to scrape by in these hills. I long for death, but I still wish to pass on my sword skills to someone worthy. Now if you're willing to learn my skills, I'll offer to teach you. The young man dared not to refuse. As he agreed, a beetle over 3 meters tall descended from the shadows. Its neck bore a thick carapace like a general's helm. The beetle wielded twin blades with a steadfast and forceful style that suited the young man's disposition. Overjoyed, the young man practiced with the beetle by the fading lamplight till dawn. As they parted ways, the beetle said kindly, The world these days is full of those lacking talent and virtue, and ascending through flattery. Why tangle with them and sully yourself? Aim higher, a man should carve his own path. With a hearty laugh, the beetle left. Lacking talent and virtue and ascending through flattery. It's talking about the magistrate. And about many people in society nowadays. This encounter changed the young man. He resigned from his position at the yamen and enlisted in the border armies. His superb swordsmanship elevated him to the rank of general. Leading the troops against foreign foes, he won victory after victory and became a famed commander. The Beetle Commander. That was me. This should be the last one for the chiefs. In empty mountains, falling blossoms sound. A flute's soft notes reveal homes around. Wearing masks that obscures false and true, they borrow forms to seek Cinnabar's hue. Long ago, a young man ventured alone to the webbed ridge, seeking vengeance. However, he was captured by Yaguais and endured many hardships in their lair before narrowly escaping. Upon his return to the kingdom of Juji, numerous weavers approached him, hoping he would lead them to the estate of Ju on the ridge to find the legendary Jade Shuttle. The young man, overwhelmed, shut his doors to visitors, but his mother couldn't understand his reluctance and pressured him to lead the weavers to the ridge to slay the Yaguais and rescue his father. Yet human nature is unpredictable, and the weavers, each with their own agendas, failed to unite in the face of danger. They quarreled incessantly and were ultimately wiped out by a giant green spider in the estate. The young man, cowering in fear, was shocked to see the spider transform into the green-clad maiden he had once encountered in the cave. Disillusioned with humanity, he tearfully begged the fairy to let him stay on the ridge and cultivate. The green-clad maiden scolded him harshly and expelled him from the estate. The young man wandered to an abandoned village on the ridge. The insect guys, having heard of his plight, took pity on him. A dragonfly guy introduced him to her master, the 100-eyed Taoist master, at the Temple of the Yellow Flowers. At the temple, all the Taoists wore stone masks. The Taoist master told the young man that to achieve the Tao, he must sever all worldly ties and don a stone mask to cut off his mortal connections. The young man hesitated and wandered around the temple. Unexpectedly, an elderly woman in red arrived with a group of beautiful maidens, including the green-clad maiden and the girl in yellow. Later, the temple hosted a banquet for the maidens. The young man, spying from the side, saw the table laden with dishes. Human oil stir-fried, fresh human meat cooked and roasted, tofu blocks made from human brains, and meat buns filled with human flesh. The stench was nauseating, and he could only watch as the Yaguas feasted on humans. The Taoist master, noticing his shock, remarked indifferently, "It is in a Yagua's nature to eat humans. Mortal lives are short even if we consume them. It only shortens their lifespan by a few decades, a mere blink of an eye." That night, the young man felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Under the moonlight, he played a tune from his homeland. Feeling utterly lost, he realized that if he didn't become a Yagwai, he might be eaten by his fellow disciples. Reflecting deeply, he questioned how he had ended up in such a predicament. After a long night of tears, he resolved to become a disciple and pursue the Tao. Since he couldn't change his fate, he decided to go with it. Determined, he asked his master for the quickest path to becoming a Yagwai. The master told him, "In the Purple Cloud Mountain, there is a rare insect called the armor worm. Consuming its eggs will allow you to ascend and become a Yagwai." And then he attacked me. The bastard. Let's get this farm.
官人，我本是善，谁料那日朦胧中，我动弹不能。原想带身，没成想，我苦苦。恳求官人取我毛发。我知他藏在寺中偏。有劳官人带我去。
Alright, equip this. Yeah.
去见他。
I'll probably leave that guy to last until I get everything in Act 3. Man. It's so convenient having this as to travel. Yeah. I'm out of here. Right in the butt. Sneezing at me. Are you fucking serious? At least it's burning. Maybe we should pop the stuff in. New thunderclap temple.
施主既来了，不放下就不能是轻则无信。以杀护法，功德无量。
The hell was that? Try to catch me now, bish. I don't even think they can walk upstairs. Yeah, they just said, fuck it. Before we head in, let's read about the kings. Alright. Violet Spider, Yellow Long, Scorpion Lord, Dust Veil, yeah, it's called the Dust Veil. The 100-eyed Dust Master. That's just 5 entries. Very quick. Violet Spider. Once she rode the cloud chariot to the high terrace. Now she dwells in a secluded cave by the mountain base. The breeze by the frail bridge chills her delicate frame. Spring arrives, another bridal gown newly made. She has a lot of weddings. Upon reaching a cluster of huts in the forest, Tongue Monk decided to seek alms for food. As he approached the village, he saw several women playing with balls under a pavilion. Invited by them into their home, he was suddenly thrown to the ground, tied up with ropes and hung from a beam in the most uncomfortable manner. While climbing trees and branches, Sun Wukong turned back and saw a glimmer of light. Realizing that his master must have encountered Youngwise, he summoned the local keeper for details, and learned that the glimmer was from the celestial bathing spring, which had been taken over by 7 spider guais. Knowing that they bathed 3 times a day, Sun Wukong transformed into an eagle, swooped down and stole all of their clothes from the wreck. Bajie, seeing so many women's clothes, persistently inquired and learned that 7 guais were bathing. Overjoyed, he rushed to the spring. Without any hesitation, he stripped off his black garb and jumped into the water, transforming into a catfish guai. The spiders tried to catch him, yet none of them succeeded. Recognizing one of them as an old acquaintance, Bajie mischievously swam around her legs. He floated and dived around her until he was out of breath and haste. The guais, retreating to their cave, fetched some old clothes and called upon their 7 adopted sons to guard the house while they headed to the Temple of Yellow Flowers to seek aid. Meanwhile, Bajie retraced his steps and reunited with the Fellowship. Together, they defeated the Insect Sons and freed their master. Without delay, they hurried to the Temple of Yellow Flowers. The Temple Master had practiced alongside the 7 Spider Guais, learned that the Tongue Monk was a monk of 10 lifetimes merits, and that his fellow spiders were humiliated, prepared 4 cups of poison tea, intending to exact revenge on the Fellowship and ultimately consume Tongue Monk. However, Sun Wukong saw through the ruse, overturned the teacups, and defeated the Spider Guais, forcing them to retreat. The Taoist master then engaged, prompting Wukong to order Bajie to eliminate the 7 Spider Guais in his stead. Following his command, Bajie wielded his rake and struck down each of the spiders, sparing only the last one. Remembering their brief affair in the water, he hesitated to end, with a final thrust of his rake into the ground, told her to flee for her life. Yellow Long. In robes concealed, a Long lies, trapped within the currents of life's ties. Soaring high, golden lining arise. Fate's trials from which none can hide. The plan he had was simple. Since the old man could foresee destiny, he would surely sidestep misfortune. By staying with him, he believed he could elude all danger. After his brothers each fled to distant realms, he transformed into a long pattern on Yuan Shuocheng's robe. He transformed into a picture on his clothes. For the next 100 years, he followed the old man across the vast lands, watching him decipher omens and foretell futures. But what good did his words change? Most in their hubris fell into the same snares. Whenever this occurred, the old man would seek refuge in drink. By fortune's grace, he possessed a gourd that brewed its own wine, and thus he often drowned his sorrows in a self-spun stupor. In his drunken haze, the old man would often convene with the shadows. At times he would mutter wistfully, "What use is it to see through the game if you cannot play it? And if you do not enter the game, what is the use at all?" At other times, he would be spirited and cheerful, exclaiming, "With life and death both predetermined, so why not be bold and give it a try?" Occasionally he would speak with a heavy heart. What's done shapes what's to come. How many can truly defy destiny? And sometimes he would sigh and question, if you could predict where you'll die and deliberately avoid it, could you really escape? The Long often wondered if these words were meant for him, but since the old man never exposed or drove him away, he assumed the old man was just rambling in his drunkenness. As time went on, these words gnawed at his heart, leaving him torn and unable to decide whether to leave. The Scorpion Lord. In bounds of deity's abode, sorrow's wine I sip, golden armor, golden claws, poison's grip. Cockerel's crow, blood tears, body near to break. My love wanes and waxes like the moon, yet burns eternal like the sun's embrace. Is the father? The mountain of venom, neighboring the West Liang kingdom of women, inherited the tradition of female supremacy. Oh, you hear that? Female supremacy. The mountain was ruled by a scorpion queen, a Guai of desire. Renowned for her enchanting beauty, she practiced the Tao of concentration, excelling in bedroom arts and matters of pleasure, thus having countless partners for her practice. Oh boy! Tao of concentration. Among these partners was a male scorpion, adorned in golden armor and claws. His strong build earned him the queen's favor. Together they had a brood of scorpion offspring. However, none of the offspring were female, which led her to lose interest in passing them her skills. Consequently, the golden armored male scorpion also fell out of favor. Seeing that the queen no longer sought his company, the male scorpion with high self-esteem took his children and moved outside the mountain, severing ties with her. Later, when the journeyers passed through the kingdom of women, the scorpion queen, true to her nature as a Guai of desire, kidnapped Tang Monk, which cost her her life when Sun Wukong summoned the Dawn Star, whose crow killed her instantly. Her maidens, the captives from the kingdom of women, held in her cave, dispersed, taking all the treasures with them. Still seething with anger, Sun Wukong set the place ablaze, turning everything to ashes. Sensing the fire, the male scorpion outside the mountain rushed to the scene, only to find his former love stripped of her clothes, her tail severed, and her body reduced to a bloody pulp. Dead at the foot of the slope, after much inquiry he learned that it was the Dawn Star of Constellation Mao that had killed her. With this knowledge, he vowed to avenge her. Fortunately, the Guai of Desire had imparted some techniques to him. He had settled in the Pipa cave, rebuilding her force and dedicating himself to practice. However, being male, he struggled to achieve great success, leading to the decline of Mountain of Venom's reputation. Upon learning that Webbed Hollow was the premier place for insect guys to practice, he took his sons and sought refuge there. Yeah, but all he did was drink afterwards. The Dust Veil. A brief song stirs a valiant heart. Long crows pierce the night apart, leaping high then falling low, drifting the duckweed in the flow. Is the Dust Veil supposed to be a Dawn Star? He lay on the ground, still unsure of how he had been defeated. The previously unremarkable, dulles-robed insect guy, whom he had previously dismissed as insignificant, now stood before him with a smirk on his face. Seeing the guy holding a radiant golden hairpin, he suddenly understood. He wanted to ask a question but found he couldn't speak. The pain was unbearable. It seemed that his throat was slit by the vile insect with the hairpin. He should be dying. He closed his eyes, not wanting his last sight to be that hideous face. Unexpectedly, someone turned him over and carefully applied decoction to his wound. He could breathe again, but this brought him no relief. The guy clicked its tongue in amazement. The medicine master gave is truly remarkable. He has mended the severed part completely. What a pity to use it on this one. He opened his eyes and tried to ask a question, but the guy stopped him. Don't rush. External medicine can't heal internal injuries. Besides, I don't intend to cure you. With that, the guy waved its hand and two fake Taoists in green robes carried over a jade box covered with brocade. The guy took out a golden cocoon and said, We mountain guy are unworthy of this item. It's best to test it on you. Panic-stricken, he coughed up blood, which spluttered into the golden cocoon. The cocoon broke upon contact with the blood, and a worm with a human head and a golden body emerged, quickly squirmed into the grass and disappeared. The guy remained unperturbed and pulled out another golden cocoon from the jade box. Master was truly wise to have prepared 2 golden cocoons. He tried to struggle, but his body was tightly bound by cobweb. The guy commanded, Pour it down his throat. The fake Taoist brought several buckets of water and forced his head back, pouring some foul-smelling concoction into his mouth. He felt something go down his throat. After swallowing it, he felt as if he were floating on clouds, his mind becoming hazy. Apart from a lingering concern for his mother, he could hardly remember anything. He silently recited one last prayer, hoping that a glimmer of survival would be bestowed upon his mother. Hundred-eyed Taoist Master. Tending the furnace, stoking the flame, making pills to immortality aspire. Countless eyes and countless schemes, one misstep and shatter all dreams. Will this work? Violet Spider lowered her head, not daring to look directly at Hundred-eyed Taoist Master. The master handed a needle to the old woman and said softly, With what the monkey left behind in this vessel mine, you have nothing to worry about. If both fail, come to me and I will back you up. He paused as if a new thought struck him and added, If I act first, you'll never see that pig again. Hearing this, the old woman quickly took the needle, thanked him, and left. Once the door closed, an immortal with a red scalp and a crane face came in, holding a fly whisk. He emerged from behind the screen, looking at the master imposingly. The master bowed respectfully and reported, With that pig in our hands. With that pig in our hands, the destined one would not alone would not cause any trouble. The crane immortal remained non-committal inside. Your little schemes are all under His Majesty's watchful eyes. He hasn't intervened out of respect for Her Majesty. The master chuckled dryly and replied, Her Majesty's words, they have taken too much profit. This time our principle and interests must be taken back. The crane immortal flicked his fly whisk as if shooing away flies and said leisurely, Once it's done, you leave, but they still have to stay. An expression could be seen on the master's face as he bowed deeply to the immortal. That's fine. but he will find a way to free them. Such is his promise, even if it will cost them their lives. Characters is next. Well, let's do this. It'll surely work on this guy. It's so big. Far away, damn.
本座这大宝正是为迷途 之准备，一切进去，勿伤于物。练习杀，先杀出去！无秩序，不透纳，相互有我和你，不贴近，有情绪，这次化解话语，梦幻好，不敢求，有木长，天短路。诸行了无生趣，我言了，你也就偏偏着后呢。简直忘好了。这里风俗不好，咱还得自卫着。诸行无常，诸相依仗，拿起魔药抽。
Man, it's so strong. Face.
来的至妙之处，便是让人脱胎换骨。我受够了这些经文寄送，什么灵山天地，我要创立新的极乐。想参禅打坐，我帮你。
Well, I'm healing in here, so it's fine.
石猴不过自封齐天，那司庆童儿却敢自立宗庙，自封世尊。亏得你佛心坚忍，勇猛无惧，竟抵住了他的引诱。那些个星君魔将、高僧大能，一个个乱了性情，坏了道心，真是因为放不下心中的偶像。你一路迎霜冒雪，可曾嗅到使人痴心破灭的味道？
Of course it did. Hubris knows. Rosy cheeks, grey hair. Pretty sure it's Violet Spider.
哎，这就走了，还羞死你！前面似是个有人烟的去处，瞧一瞧。这里还和从前一样，一点儿没变。没礼貌！没看见猪爷爷我正忙着吗？
Did I pass the The shrine? Probably not. Back in the box. No. Alright. What? Oh.
师兄当年可是费了不少力。怎丢开老猪跑了呀？路这般窄，贤侄，略等等我呀！此处门路大开，必有埋伏。别出！要出的路，就得趴下！贤侄，这有一间小庙，招呼招呼。贤侄深藏不露啊！这等宝贝，师兄当年可是费了不少力。
Can buy mine cores? I'll take them. Alright. Was it characters time? Any of this. We're doing the Venom Taoist, Crane Immortal, Hong Yi. Just 3. Alright. Venom Taoist. Schemes and plots. Hard to outsmart. Impulsive nature, straightforward heart. He should thank his twin blades. One cuts through folly, one has the truth displayed. Gentle mountain breeze, wildflowers covered ground, inside the stone cave behind the temple. The purple-faced Taoist master asked with a gentle smile, "How long have you been in this temple?" I do not know. I can only remember that the thunder struck the hall over 100 times, replied the Venom Taoist, standing cautiously beside the master. There has been over 100 years, the master said, walking towards the bare stone wall, about to touch it. Master, the Taoist called out, I've been here for a long time, yet you have not taught me any skills. Could you perhaps teach me a few moves today? You wish to learn my skills? Since the day I called you master, yes. Your foundation is solid, and energy channels harmonized. You have already achieved high. I'm afraid learning my skills won't help you much. Taoist tensed up at the master's words, fully on guard. The hour of his expectation, the master uttered, Skills, I can offer no more, but some unique methods of practices I can offer, that they are beyond the mind's feeble and demand strong willpower to succeed. If you are not deterred by hardship, I can let you try. Intrigued, the Taoist asked, What kind of unique methods? Taoist shook his head and said, Without your willingness to learn, I cannot tell you that. The Taoist pondered deeply, unable to make a decision. The Taoist gently persuaded, There's a path trodden by many of my disciples. If you come here, attempt nothing and achieve nothing. Would it not be a journey in vain? Hearing this, the Taoist remembered his brother's instructions and inquired, What can this method achieve? They will refine your body, elevate your divine skills, and the path to ascension shall be in ease. Is it truly so profound? If you find it not helping, you can stop at any time, the master said confidently. Led by these words, the Taoist agreed immediately. I am ready to follow your instructions, master. Come with me, the Taoist said, glancing once more, pure and refined, ascending to meet the immortal, unconfined, revered in the vast skies, far and wide. What foolish man would dare not abide? The newly appointed Dawn Star originally served in the Hall of Incense. Now promoted, he had first opportunity to tour the Celestial Palace. Dawn Star. Is he the Dawn Star? As he exited the Celestial Palace, he was met by the Crane Immortal. No. But who first took him to the Celestial Gate to be introduced to the captains of the court on duty and the 4 heavenly kings. He then visited the 33 halls and the 72 palaces, paying respects to everyone along the way. The celestial beings treated them with utmost courtesy, which greatly pleased the newly appointed constellation officer. After the tour, the Crane Immortal was about to personally escort the Dawn Star back to the Palace of Illumination. On the way back, the Dawn Star suddenly asked, I wonder if my predecessor was promoted or demoted. Would you enlighten me, or may I know how to conduct myself in the future? The Crane Immortal smiled and said, He mingled too closely with the mortal realm, perhaps making some friends among the mountains and wilds. Now having shed his celestial bonds, who can say where he revels in his newfound freedom? The constellation officer frowned and asked, Heard that the Dome of Stars conducts roll calls daily. How could it be that the constellation officer left without anyone knowing? Crane Immortal gently smoothed the wrinkles on the Dawn Star's robes and said, somberly, If he hadn't left quietly, how would you be here now? Hearing this, the Dawn Star seemed to understand and did not pursue the matter further. He quit. Hongyu. Tearful eyes reflect tearful eyes. Broken hearts into broken cries. The world harbors the cold and sly, yet spares the soul in serpent's guise. The Jade Emperor sat on his throne in the Celestial Palace, gathering the officials. Hongyu stood among the immortals and saw Tai Bai Jinsing leading an officer in. a crown of 5 peaks on his head, a landscape engraved tablet in his hand. He wore the light of the 7 stars on his robe, and walked to the pleasant music of 8 jade rings dangling from his waist. Tai Bai Ginseng then announced, "Your Majesty, I have brought the son of Bodhisattva Palanpo from the Purple Cloud Mountains as commanded." The Jade Emperor responded, "Let the celestial official come forward. I appoint you as the Dawn Star." The son of Bodhisattva Palampo is the Dawn Star, ranking among the 28 constellations, and grants you residence in the Palace of Illumination. Remember to be diligent in your duties and conduct your patrols on time. The newly appointed Dawn Star thanked the Emperor for his grace. The Jade Emperor then ordered the Crane Immortal and the Supreme Celestial Inspector to escort him to his post, also bestowing upon him 2 bottles of Imperial wine and 10 golden flowers. The Immortals congratulated the Dawn Star, while Hong Yi stood quietly on the periphery, observing for a moment. She was slightly older than him, and having grown up together due to his deep connections with frequent interactions between their families, she had always seen him as a younger brother. Now witnessing his moment of glory, she believed his future held limitless potential. After waiting a while longer, she watched him greet and bid farewell to others in front of the hall, his spirits high, yet he never glanced her way. With a quiet sigh, she turned and slowly walked out of the hall. We slithered. Well, I guess that'll be it. Yeah. We're done for this week. Next week will be Flaming Mountain, which is, it's good. I think. Maybe. Hopefully. Yeah. Chapter 5. Yeah. Anyways, Peach.